Hi, my name is Patrick O'Boyle. This is the GBF, a cultural analysis of the longest running trope in TV and filmmaking. So, you may ask, what is the gay best friend trope? The gay best friend is a trope that exists mostly to add variety, comedic relief, cheap laughs, um, to an otherwise all straight story, and sometimes shows political correctness. The gay best friend is depicted mostly as interested in shopping, fashion, very sissy, as it were, into makeovers. Um, so the gay best friend may talk about sex a lot, but is seldom depicted as having any, either because the notion that many viewers would find it quote unquote disturbing, right? So either the gay best friend has no love life to speak, right? So and somehow that doesn't seem to bother him. He's just fine being an accessory to our protagonists, or it's forever off screen, only discussed with the heroine over brunch or you know, uh, some sort of situation like that. Here we see oh, taking you to my room. It's makeover time. What? But you're gay. It's uh, highly overdone. Now, we cannot talk about the gay best friend trope without talking about the Hays Code, right? So this was implemented in 1930 as the Motion Picture Production Code. It's known as the Hays Code. So this was a set of guidelines that was introduced to control what people would see on screen, and really who would make the content. It was a list of 36 do's, don'ts, be carefuls. Um, if you've seen the Pirates of the Caribbean, it's a set of guidelines and natural rules is referring to like the pirate code. It's kind of the equivalent here. So while this was voluntary, quote unquote, films couldn't be shown in theaters if in violation. Scripts would generally be watered down to align with the content of the Hays Code to make sure that the film made money and was seen. So I've got a picture over here of some like it hot. So about a year or so after this film was released, the head of the MPA, the organization that is in charge really of ratings, PG-13, PGRX, etc., began suggesting that some sort of classification system might work better than a censorship system, um, mostly because due to a lot of what Marilyn Monroe was doing at the time, and a lot of creators at that period, they kind of started just ignoring um, the Hays Code, and it would still uh, they were getting results in spite of it. Um, so in 1968, that organization shifted from its restricting filmmakers to alerting audiences using the film's rating systems that we know today. But where did this gay best friend trope start? Right. So we have the early uses of gay best friend were actually really positive forms of representation. Um, Although the characters like Bernstein in The Next Stop. So really, where did the gay best friend trope start? Um, our earliest uses of the gay best friend were really actually positive representation. So characters like Bernstein in The Next Stop, Greenwich Village, Brian in Cabaret, Buddy in The Woman in Red. These were all, while they were secondary, counterparts. Their appearances weren't really queer coded. Um, Buddy was one of the guys. Um, in The Woman in Red. Brian is a bi character, right? But it's that doesn't feel awkward or coded. Bernstein is genuine. Are you Jewish? No, I'm gay. These are all really positive examples, especially for their time, right? Of 70s, 80s. Um, of queer characters that were really revolutionary. Um, However, over the time, this type of character has almost devolved into a stereotypical flamboyant fashionista. I mentioned sissy side character who whose purpose seemed to help the female protagonist, straight, achieve their goals, and sometimes even just be representation for representation's sake. We'll go over an example of that in a moment here. Um, so what's the problem with the GBF? Right, we mentioned how it's kind of I mentioned how it's kind of devolved. Um, there's a few things. First off, Houston. Um, this can be used as a subtrope, right? So we have our token minority. A lot of time that's with black characters and any form of minority. Um, the queer character can be substituted for that, which can be really harmful. This trope reinforces people's biases of what being gay is, and can thus have real damaging effects in real life, including females that even just make it a goal or point to have a GBF to go shopping with, um, when that's not necessarily it's great to have gay friends, but that's not like that shouldn't be the goal. Is like I'm going to find myself a gay best friend. Um, it also creates a harmful culture of men pretending to be gay to get closer to women. Um, we see that with things like Chuck and Larry. There are a lot of examples of that um, where people pretend to be gay so that women feel more comfortable around them, and that's just horrible and deceitful, and it just isn't it doesn't feel right. Um, and Aside from the IRL aspects, right, of people's biases and the harmful cultures of pretending to be gay to be closer to women, it's really in filmmaking, it's a lazy plot device. It's something that is used to make sure that there's no sexual tension between male and female character, um, but that can really just be lazy filmmaking. There are ways um, to not just take the easy route of, oh, this person's gay, so like we don't have to worry about that. Um, so I'd like to now go into some of the other cultural aspects of this, right, that we've seen, starting with three of the problematic um, portrayals of the GBF in film and TV. I have combined the two mediums for the express purpose that um, these days TV, because of streaming services, um, TV and film are so closely linked in the ways that they are made nowadays, and how people in our time view content. They're kind of displayed next to each other in streaming services. Is the medium in which people take in um, film and TV these days. So it only made sense to combine them as far as a medium of looking at the gay best friend trope. Um, so the three ones that we're going to talk about here are George, played by Rupert Everett in My Best Friend's Wedding. We have the character Stanford Blatch, played by Willie Garrison in Sex and the City. And finally, we have George, funnily enough, another George, played by Paul Rudd in The Object of My Affection. So starting off here, we have George in My Best Friend's Wedding. For a lot of people, this is the OG. If you're looking for just like the stock GBF, this is their type. This is the piece of content that people look to. His character is used to make the female protagonist Jules um, plot move forward, right, by helping her, dropping everything and going to sabotage um, the wedding of one of her exes. The resolution isn't really satisfying for queer folks, right? There's no uh, they're better friends here. We see the quote, "Life goes on. Maybe there won't be marriage, maybe there won't be sex, but by God, there'll be dancing." And they dance together. Um, and really, it almost feels like that plot point, right? Of, oh, your friend dropping everything to go help you sabotage the wedding of an ex could very well, have not been like a stereotypical gay to do those. You could just have a best friend who is straight. So um, it, it can kind of feel disingenuous sometimes when it's just it could be played by a straight character, um, or uh, by it being a queer character and having it not be um, authentic or really meaning in any way, it falls into this gay best friend trope. So that's kind of our textbook example. There is George and My Best Friend's Wedding. Um, Next, we have the lovely Stanford Blatch from Sex and the City. This show ran from 1998 to 2004. It's definitely our most recent um, usage of this, right? So Stanford, if you don't know, is you know her confidant for the New York City party scene. He contributes dialogue on dating and shopping, therapy, etc. Um, he's eventually shipped, not in the TV series, but with the only other with the other gay best friend in the series, Anthony. They're married in one of the films. Um, and this actor, I guess, eventually was did a few interviews and was talking about how uncomfortable it made him feel as a straight actor playing this gay best friend character. Um, which, I mean, I don't know if that's just if there's hate in his heart, right? Like, um, as an actor, I've made the arguments in in classes where um, actors should be able to be free to play. Um, that's kind of like the definition of acting, right? Is to be someone that you're not. Um, but the fact that he said that he was uncomfortable, um, it also leads me to thinking that a lot of um, the production and because I haven't to be honest and frank, and my name's Patrick, haven't seen much Sex in the City. It hasn't been my like go-to show. So it leads me to also kind of believe that maybe some of the production was not very queer focused or queer friendly. Um, and then finally, what I kind of have found to be one of the most heinous examples of the gay best friend trope. This happened a few times in the 90s. I guess it was something that people were obsessed with, was like, what happens if I sleep with my gay best friend? Um, so in this movie, we see, we've got these two powerhouse actors, right? Jennifer Aniston and Paul Rudd. Um, and in the end, she has her baby. We see that here. Um, and they end up this great big happy family at the end, but it feels wrong and kind of false, right? That we'd have this gay man be attracted to a straight friend. It just doesn't feel right. Feels really disingenuous, and just there's a few movies that had the same storyline or plot of uh, the gay man falling for his straight friend, um, which like I said is really disingenuous and can do some real harm. But enough of the bad, right? Let's talk about some of the best gay best friends. I picked a few of these examples because these are some of my favorite pieces of content that I personally have seen. They also um, are some of the better usage and representation of the gay best friend. So we start with Brandon, played by Dan Bird and Easy A. Kurt, played by Chris Colfer in Glee. That was in 2009. And then John, played by the lovely Dan Levy in Happiest Season 2020. So started with Dan. So Dan and Easy A is being bullied for his sexuality. He's like, who's gonna believe me if I say that I've slept with a girl? He's getting beaten up. You see him have a bloody nose after being the victim of a lot of real bullying. So his good friend Olive pretends to sleep with him at a party, right? This public, making up kind of a public spectacle of it to help her friend. Side effect of that, it does end up kicking off uh, Olive's storyline, right, which is part of a gay best friend trope. But I think because the roles are flipped, right, we have the female protagonist helping their gay best friend. Um, we also get resolution in this where um, he does end up running away from home and finds his happy life with his partner. Um, that it was a really great use of the gay best friend that broke the norm and broke convention. And then we have Kurt from Glee. So this, as a theater kid, this was one of my guilty pleasures in high school. I picked Kurt because there's a few reasons here. One, he's a really well established character. He's one of the leads of the show. That's outside of his friendship with Rachel. Um, and again, while there are some problems with Rachel's relationship with Kurt, right, she's often describes him as her best gay, um, and things like the bully who turns out to be gay, and causes Kurt to transfer schools. Um, Having a gay character on a family oriented show, on a hit network TV series was really kind of groundbreaking and showed my generation, because it came out when I was in like high school, middle school, um, what a good, healthy relationship with their straight parent looks like, um, and some true happiness with being queer. Um, Kurt does seem to be, he is very flamboyant. He's a member of the Glee Club, right? So it doesn't do any favors for those type of stereotypes. But I think because because his character is so authentically those things, it doesn't feel like, in some of the films, like your Devil Wears Prada, Stanley Tucci characters, where like the fashionista is what they are. It's just part of. It's just one of the things with Kurt, and it doesn't feel coded. It feels really authentic because um, they do a really good job of driving that home. And then finally, one of my favorite actors and really some really just great representation. If you haven't seen Happiest Season, I challenge you to go watch it. Yes, it's a Christmas movie, but it is fantastic. Um, it's like nothing else we've seen really before. It's a queer coming out story set around Christmas time, where um, we have Kristen Stewart playing um, Abby, this girl who is ready to propose um, to her girlfriend Harper. Uh, she goes with Harper to her family's house, and like right at the end there, as they're rolling up to the house, Harper's like, "So here's the thing, my family doesn't know that I'm gay, um, that I'm a lesbian," and so it's a fantastic story overall. But Dan Levy, who also plays another fantastic queer character in David in Schitt's Creek, um, really does things for Abby to make, like I said, make these compelling arguments about um, how difficult it is for some people in the 2S LGBTQ plus community to feel safe coming up, especially to their conservative family. Um, right? They really ask those questions of um, and dive into the coming out story set around Christmas. Um, This film doesn't fall into the normal tropes of falling for someone in Abby's circle, right, or being devoid of sex. We see here this conversation. He's like, "You're tracking him." Yeah, I track everybody. Um, it's used as a plot point later because he does track Abby to make sure that she's okay. Um, but he's making sure that his lover the previous evening leaves his house while he's meeting with Abby. Um, so Dave, John's character in this is raw, unfiltered. He's really a near perfect representation of the gay best friend, and kind of what we're striving for with these characters. So you can kind of see the more time passes, right? We have our 2010, 2015 to 2020. Um, these characters kind of grow in their complexity and um, really break free of those norms. So, um, what are some of our solutions moving forward? A lot of that comes with self awareness, right? And designing these characters so that they're not just used for comic relief. Um, there are ways that you can uh, tactfully and carefully expand roles outside of being good guys. Um, for example, characters we have gay characters in Killing Eve and the assassination of Gianni Versace that are queer coded, that um, are villains for a lot of creators. Right, that's something that is generally avoided because we don't want to make gay people and the villains. Um, but I think there's a lot of gray area where we can expand that and have them be deeper characters more than good guys, and a lot of that does come from by having these characters um, produced and created by queer creators, right? So I think it's done wonders for this trope of the more queer filmmakers that we have these days. Um, it is a lot. We're seeing a lot more advancements for characters like David and John. Um, so those are some of our solutions to this trope moving forward. Having deeper characters, not only being used for comic relief and to expand the protagonist story, or to not be lazy in our filmmaking, with with the writing of, oh, let's just make this character gay so that we don't have to deal with the like any romantic relationship between a friend and the protagonist who are different sexes. Um, so thank you. Remember, always forward, never straight, and keep it gay, keep it gay, keep it gay. Thank you.